Namanda, 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 namanda.
Good afternoon and welcome to White River Buddhist Temple's Joya-E year-end virtual service. I'm Valerie Yamanaka and I will be chairing today's service. Throughout the service, we encourage you to engage in the chat with other attendees and let us know where you're watching from. As a reminder, we are continuing to work through some of the technical aspects of streaming, so please bear with us as we learn and adjust. With that said, let's get started. Please Gasho for opening meditation. Greed rises from the wrong ideas of satisfaction. Anger rises from the wrong ideas concerning the state of one's affairs and surroundings. Foolishness arises from the inability to judge what correct conduct is. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. This morning we'll chant Joya-E, led by Reverend Warwick.
Gagon cho seigan, iship mu jodo, shigan hu manzok, se fujo shogak, ga o muryo ko, fu idai seishu, fu sai sho bingu, se fujo shogak, ga shi jo butendo, myo sho cho jiepo, kukyo mi sho mon, se fujo shogak, ryoku jin shonen, jo-e shu bongyo, shigu mu jodo, Isho tenin shi, jinriki and daiko, fusho musaido, shoujo samkumyo, kosai shu yakunan, kaihi chi egen, meshi kon wo an, heisoku sho akudo, tsudaten zen shumon, Koso jo manzok, ioro jiepo, nichigaten shujuki, tenko onpugen, ishu kai hozo, koseku nokuho, jo dai shuchu, seppo shishiku, Kuyo isai buden, gu soku shu toku hon, ganne shiten joman, toku isan gaio, nyo buten muge chi, tsudaten mi husho, ganga ku edik, toshi sai sho son, shigan yako ka, Daisen no kando, koku sho tenin, to uchin myoke. Namandambu, 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 namandambu. Namanda, 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 namanda.
Please join me in reading the three treasures. The reading will be displayed on the screen. Fortunate is it to be born into human life, now we are living it. Rare is it to encounter the teachings of the Buddha, now we hear it. If we do not seek the truth of the Dharma in this life, in what life shall we find it? Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of the way to enlightenment and awaken within us our highest aspiration. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of the Dharma and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord, in a life of harmony, in a spirit of universal brotherhood, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful teaching. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. Namanda. Thank you. Now I'd like to welcome Reverend Warwick, who will give today's Dharma message.
Namanda, namamida, namanda, namanda. Well, good afternoon. Welcome to our annual Joya-E service. Thank you for joining us virtually today. The word Joya-E means last night gathering. And someone asked why we observe a last night gathering at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I think that tradition probably started for safety reasons, not wanting our members to be driving late at night at midnight, where, as in Japan, the bells are rung at about 11:45 and keep on ringing until they have rung out 108. Also, I think maybe it started so that folks could prepare sechiryori, or the Japanese New Year food. They could go home after the service today and start preparing all that food that they're going to eat tomorrow and for the next 3 or 4 days. This New Year celebration lasts about 3 or 4 days in Japan into the new year. So we traditionally, however, here at White River and many other temples gather on this day to express our gratitude for the past year and to reflect on the interdependency of all of our lives and on all of the causes and conditions that have made it possible for us to live this past year. Even though it's been a rough year, we're still here. So please join me in Gassho for a reading from Shinran's Shoshinge. Those with extremely heavy karma should only recite Amida's name. Although I, too, am in his embracing light, my evil passions hinder me from perceiving it. But his light of great compassion never ceases to shine on me untiringly. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Anda, Namo Anda. Well, here we are at the end of another year and on the eve of a new one. Goodbye to the year of the rat, and we'll say hello to the year of the ox. So we started 2020 as usual, filled with excitement and for a chance, to start over and maybe do better than we did in 2019. So in January, we started a new year pretty much like always, rather quietly. In February, it seemed like we spent the entire month getting ready and helping Seattle Betsuin host the Northwest District Convention. But then came March. Then came March. The pandemic reared its ugly head. I think the last service that we actually gathered for here at the temple in March was on March 1st for our Shochiki Memorial Service. And also that newly organized play day that didn't seem to get off the ground because of the pandemic. And from that day forward, all of the activities here have been scheduled, or rather have been canceled. We couldn't schedule any types of services, memorial services, funerals, weekly services, special, no services whatsoever, as you all well know. And we moved into lockdown. And our first attempt at virtual services was co-conducted at Seattle Betsu Inn with our spring Ohigan service. And then we moved into a new era at that time of sharing the Dharma, one virtually, as we're doing today. And from that day on, we've been doing our services, not quite on a regular basis, but as many as we could, via Zoom. Most of us, including myself, had no clue what Zoom was up until this pandemic hit. And fortunately, there were some people around who knew what it was and knew how to use it and has painstakingly taught the rest of us to get by. So in April, we joined with the Northwest District ministers virtually for our Hanamatsuri celebration. And in May, we visited and conducted virtual Memorial Day services at Mountain View, Pioneer, Hillcrest, and Washington Memorial. Pretty windy on those days, but we still managed to have a service. In June, the Miyagi family, they left the Northwest for an assignment in the sunny California, down around San Francisco, I think. We also, at that time, had our virtual sunrise summer solstice sit, which was somewhat of a success. A few technical difficulties, but we still enjoyed it. So in July, we were able to do a virtual Obon celebration and a flower fundraiser, and thanks to several of our very innovative and technically gifted young members, we had this fundraiser for the temple and raised quite a bit of money, I think. Also in July, Rona and I moved into our new house in Montlake Terrace, and we're still trying to downsize from the old house. You know, you pick up items and you say, oh, I can't part with this, and you just seem to move them from one room to another rather than actually putting them outside and taking them to Goodwill. So along comes August, we're still in lockdown. Reverend Tadao Koyama was welcomed to the Northwest District as resident minister of Tacoma Buddhist Temple. September, still the same. The forever march continues on through the year. In September, we marked our 7th month of lockdown with our Northwest District virtual Ohigan service. The last 2 Ohigans have been virtually. In October, we had a treat with Reverend Candace Shibata. She joined us virtually for our Eshini Kakshini service and our virtual Dharma discussion afterwards, which was a real success. In November, we joined other musicians from the Northwest District to participate in Seattle Betsu Inn's annual music service. There are many people I'd like to thank for that, but they did a wonderful job. We helped Seattle put on that good program. And in December, we had a virtual winter solstice sit with service, one of many virtual meditation sessions. We're holding about anywhere from 2 to 3 a week that we've held throughout the year to kind of keep some of us a wee bit sane. We joined the Northwest District ministers for Bodhi Day, for our Bodhi Day service and celebration. And it finally seems like we're starting to get the hang of this Zooming for our virtual services. No doubt, though, 2020 will go down as one of the most memorable in our lifetimes. With a global pandemic, pandemic, much of this social unrest around us, and a contentious national election. Without Zoom, I think a lot of us would have been even more lonely and perhaps had suffered even more. It's been a very painful year for a lot of folks who were not able to get out and be with any family. Lots of folks have been alone, and we feel the pain. But now it's time to say goodbye to 2020 and to welcome a shiny, brand new 2021, the year of the ox. And as we say goodbye to the old year, we can reflect about all this suffering in this past year. And a lot of it we bring on ourselves because we humans are extremely self-centered, and we're sometimes oblivious to many things that don't really concern us. But that's the nature of us humans, and that hasn't changed since ancient times. With our eyes, we see things. With our ears, we hear things. With our noses, we smell things. With our tongues, we taste things. With our skin, our epidermis, we feel things. And at every sight, smell, taste, and touch, our hearts, our thoughts, our heads, our minds are either moved towards making it our own, embracing it, or repelling it. Pleasant things we want to make our own, and unpleasant things we want to reject at all costs. This goes on in an endless cycle of suffering, and the frustration because of our wants are really never satisfied. And a lot of those wants manifested very acutely during this pandemic. The desire to be with family and friends, the desire to have our normal lives back. Some of our unsatisfied wants may be light, very light, with no visible sign of suffering actually being seen. And some can be so fierce that it could drive us to very disastrous consequences, even to the point of taking our own lives. And sadly to say, there have been several reports of young and old people taking their own lives during this pandemic. However, 6 feelings are recognized in Buddhism. Feelings arise from this sight, this sound, the smells, the taste, the touch, and consciousness. And each of these 6 sensations is associated with pleasant, unpleasant, or indifference, making a total of 18 feelings. Furthermore, each of the pleasant and unpleasant and indifferent feelings has 2 classifications, those of attachment and those of non-attachment. And when we multiply the 18 different kinds of feelings with the 2 classifications, we arrive at the figure 36. These 36 are the basic passions or defilements of man that have manifested in time, past, present, and future. So therefore, 36 multiplied by past, present, and future will give us a total of 108 earthly temptations. Japanese, that's called bonno, or defilements or worldly passions. The formula: 6 feelings, sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, and consciousness multiplied by 3 associations of pleasant, unpleasant, and indifference equals 18. 6 times 3 is 18. Multiplied by 2 associations of attachment and non-attachment, we arrived at 36. 18 times 2, 36, which in turn are multiplied by 3 times past, present, and future, giving us a total of 108. Each New Year, Eve rather, as I said before, many people will gather at many, many temples here in the United States and around the world, very, very many in Japan, to ring out the old year and ring in the new year. They do this by ringing the temple bells, usually rung around 108 times or more, in an effort to rid ourselves of these defilements and start afresh. I guess we are going to start fresh with new defilements. I don't know. At least we're going to give it a shot. And we here at White River Buddhist Temple are really no exception. Traditionally, we set up the the conch shell outside and have members ring the bell. This year, of course, it'll be different. We will ring it a different way this year. But for those of us who made New Year's resolutions, this ringing out of these passions might be considered a kind of a catch-all resolution. So in other words, all these things that I did, which were not very wholesome this last year, hopefully I won't do those same things in this new year. But whether we maintained our resolve and kept our resolutions or not, it really doesn't matter now, because the old year is fading fast. As we look back on this past year and look forward to the new one, let us all reflect on the following words that are attributed to the Buddha Shakyamuni, which I think says it all. So please join me in Gassho again. Shakyamuni has said, "Let us rise up and be grateful. For if we didn't learn a lot this year, at least we learned a little. And if we didn't learn a little, at least we didn't get sick. And if we got sick, at least we didn't die. So let us be grateful." Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida. Before we close our service today, I'd like to express my heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you for your help, your food, year-end gifts, for those who helped with programs, guidance at committee meetings, board meetings, etc., BWA, ABBA, for their support as well, all who contributed their time and their finances to this temple to keep these doors open and the lights on. Thank you very much. Akimashite omedetou gozaimasu. Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Warwick, for your message. At this time, we will read the Jodo Shinchu Creed together. The words will also be displayed on the screen, so please follow along. Entrusting the vow of the Buddha and reciting the sacred name, I shall proceed through the journey of life with strength and joy. Revering the light of the Buddha, reflecting upon my imperfect self, I shall strive to live a life of gratitude. Following the teachings of the Buddha, discerning the right path, I shall spread the true Dharma. Rejoicing in the compassion of the Buddha, respecting and aiding one another, I shall do my best to work towards the welfare of society. Thank you. Today we are fortunate to have a musical recording of A Special Place from Temple members Don and Judy Gardner. Please join us in singing along as the words will be displayed on the screen.
There is a square upon the floor, an island in the sea, a place I visit every week, a spot that's just for me. When I sit upon that square, I leave my cares outside. All anger is forgotten. The Dharma is my guide. There is a special something here, is something you can see. For kindness lives within this place, it lives inside of me. Amida stands inside the shrine, a smile upon his face. I smile right back, I'm glad to be here in this special place. Now there's time to sit and
Thank you, Don and Judy. We appreciate your musical talents. Before we end today's service, I have a few announcements to make. First, as a friendly reminder, in-person temple operations are suspended indefinitely. Your safety is our top concern, and we're working hard to find virtual opportunities to engage the Sangha. All service dates and links can be found on the temple calendar or the website. Our next service, virtual service, will be tomorrow, our New Year's Day service at 10:30 a.m. It will be streamed on the website or on the YouTube page. Our next book club meeting will be this Sunday, January 3rd at 7 p.m. We will meet to discuss the book Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. Please register if you haven't already at wrbt.org/book club. To give you a taste of our annual Shinenkai New Year's party, we are offering the ability to purchase a bento, or several if you'd like, that you can eat during the event. Bentos are available for $17, and you can find the form online. Please order by January 6th, and we'll have contactless drive-through pickup on the morning of Saturday, January 16th at the temple. Our next virtual Timeless Favorites cooking class will be on January 23rd. Please register online, and we'll be announcing what we're cooking soon. And finally, if you don't already, please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and the website for the latest information. Those are all the announcements that I have. So at this time, please join me in Gasho for closing meditation. Let us live happily then, hating none, while in the midst of men who hate. Let us dwell free from hate, while among men who hate. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Before we close today, I want to thank Reverend Warwick and Rona for setting up the service, Dawn and Judy for the music, and Kendall for managing the IT. All of your contributions make today's service possible. And thank you all for joining us today virtually. To close out, we will end by ringing the bell 108 times. We hope that you have a happy and safe New Year.
So since everyone can't be here with us today, I'm going to go ahead and try to ring these bells 108 times because I sure feel like I've got a lot of defilements from this past year. So hopefully we can get them all wrung out and start clean tomorrow. Thank you. And here's a few for good measure. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida. Thank you very much. Happy New Year.